It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag college football.
The poll is out, PK, the college football rankings. And look at BYU, holding steady at number 11. Utah down one spot at 13. But Oregon moves up to number 6 over Ole Miss.
You know, I want to swear. I do. BYU is getting hosed, man. I just don't understand it. And to have, what's the guy's name, the ESPN dude who does all that stuff? I can't think of, I don't know. Reese Davis, there you go. And saying that BYU would be a bid stealer if they go 12-1, a bid stealer. My goodness gracious, they ought to get a top 4 seed. We talked about this a few weeks ago, and I said my head would explode if they went 12-1 and didn't get a home bye, or at least maybe even first round bye, but certainly a home game in the first round. And now Reese Davis, one of the premier guys that's on this, he's not on the committee, but recognizes as basically a spokesman for college football, saying they'd be a bid stealer, and then the president or the chairman there trying to make a 6-7 joke. No one's laughing here, buddy. What are you thinking?
He's thinking the Big 12 is going to get the shaft, which is what I have thought for weeks, for months, and it looks like it's going to fall on BYU.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say that Texas Tech is going to get the shaft. It would be BYU. And then it seems like, we'll throw them a bone on 2 meaningless positions with Arizona getting in at 25. And what did the Devils do to move up 5 spots? They beat Colorado, and all of a sudden they move up 5 spots. And you're just throwing all this type of respect on them when it doesn't even matter, because obviously they got no chance unless they went on some incredible run here.
It doesn't matter. And they did get some help because the only losses in the top 25 were 4 teams that were down low, and so they dropped those teams out. But you're right, it's totally throwing them a bone. They want 1 Big 12 team in. They don't want 2 Big 12 teams in. They got to let 1 in, so they put 1 in. It's an SEC world and a Big Ten world.
Why would this committee have that bias? Why? It's not like they're all full from there. Everyone is not connected to that. I can get the TV networks because the numbers in terms of viewerships bear that out. But these men and women on this committee, most of them don't have an allegiance to the Big Ten or the SEC. So that doesn't make any sense to me.
I cannot fully explain their motivation, but I read one of the stories, and it was a national story. It didn't come from anybody associated with the state of Utah or with the school. And it was a blind analysis of 2 teams. You know, they do the Team A, Team B, and best wins, worst losses, what's your record versus bowl teams, what's your record versus ranked teams. And the 2 teams, there was basically no difference between them. And the differences were minuscule. And it was Oregon and BYU. And a Big Ten team is in and a Big 12 team is out. I can't tell you everybody's
why.
I can't tell you everybody's motivation. But PK, you know I thought this was going to happen when the season started. I just couldn't tell you which team it was going to happen to, but it was going to happen to the Big 12. And now it looks like it's going to happen to BYU.
I understand all that, but there's
You still want to know why, and I want to know why too. And you know, maybe we can get Mark Harlan on the air. Maybe we can't. Sometimes we can get him on the air. Sometimes we can't. We could ask him when it's all over. I don't know what he'll say. It'd be interesting because he gets to be in the room. For most of it,
I won't ask him because if it happens and if BYU doesn't get in, I quit.
Yeah, I mean, which people say what in the room that carries the day? Yeah, I don't know. But
I hate that room. I mean, the committee room. I want to talk about the quarterback room, the tight end room, not the committee room.
Well, we're waiting to see if a team that can get in the playoff is going to lose its coach to another school. And the answer is yes. Now, if Lane Kiffin does it, the answer might be yes twice. But North Texas, in the hunt for a G5 bid, the coach, Eric Morris, is going to Oklahoma State as the new head coach. The 40-year-old discovered and developed quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield, Cam Ward, John Mateer. So he's got them on his resume. Now he has the Oklahoma State job.
Good for him. Jim Moore going to Colorado State. I saw that this morning.
Yes. Yeah, that broke last night. Back-to-back 9-win seasons. And so Colorado State hasn't won 9 games in a year since 2007. So he is off to, well, by the time they play their first game under him, they'll be a Pac-12 school because CSU's making the move with Utah State and a few other schools and joining Oregon State and Washington State. USC coach Lincoln Riley told reporters he is 100% staying with the Trojans. He's happy in L.A. So all the Lincoln Riley rumors can slow down for another year.
Was he going to go into selling insurance? I mean, what was he going to do?
Take one of the many jobs that is open because it's not going great at USC, I guess was the theory.
So
Call Larry the Laker. He's the guy with all the deep insight. Larry the Laker in here. What job was he going to be linked to?
Linked. I get it.
Yak. Colorado's going to sit freshman quarterback Julian Lewis this weekend, preserve his red shirt. You got that 4-game rule out there. Caden Salter will get the start for Colorado.
You know, it's funny because obviously the Sam Levitt rumors have been flying high, and ASU's been prepared for that. I mean, they knew it was a possibility, if nothing else, that he would go to the NFL. And after the game Saturday night, Kenny Dillingham gave him a big hug, and you could see he's talking into his ear, right? And then the caption was, "Oh, man, we'll see you in January."
DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow says he has no plans to sit out if he's cleared and able to play, despite the fact the team is 3-8. He's missed the last 9 games with a grade 3 turf toe injury. So he doesn't care about.
That makes sense.
He doesn't care about staying healthy, draft position. They're paying him to play. He's gonna go play.
Well, I mean, he's a football player.
Yep.
He already missed a season a couple years back, didn't he?
Did.
He wants to play football.
He had an ACL and was out a year. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
The Bills added some depth to the receiver corps with the signing of free agent Brandon Cooks, who was released by the Saints. Dalton Kincaid leads Buffalo in touchdown receptions. Former Ute, the tight end. They want more production outside, so Brandon Cooks it is.
Cook's been a guy in the NFL for a long time now.
That he has. Trevor Moehrig has been suspended 1 game without pay. Panther safety with the low blow on Juwan Jennings Monday night. Plans to appeal the 1-game suspension.
Man, spitting has been in the news ever since that gal in Tennessee. You know what I mean?
There has been a lot of, probably half dozen, I would say, spitting incidents. There's been a bunch of them.
Yeah. Honking loogies now. It's like everywhere you turn.
Yeah. But this is, would you rather be spit on or punched slightly below the belt?
Oh,
I mean, seeing none of the above.
What fatal cancer do I want?
I know, right? Seeing none of the above.
I want neither. Jeez.
Semi-finalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame include Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Larry Fitzgerald, Jason Witten, and Frank Gore. They are all first-year eligible inductees. Other semi-finalists include Willie Anderson, Torrey Holt, Adam Vinatieri, Eli Manning, Steve Smith Sr., the former Ute, Reggie Wayne. On and on the list goes. Darren Woodson, who've all been previously eligible.
I want to ask you something.
Anybody in there you really feel strong about? This person must be in. I got one name.
I mean, you named about 5 or 6. And my question for you, because I don't really follow this the way I would do baseball, we hear that baseball sometimes, you got to pay your dues, so you're not going to get in on the first time. I mean, we've kind of gotten away from that a little bit, which I think we should. But is that the same thing with the pro football? I don't follow it as much. You're more into it than I am. Do they make them wait,
I don't
even
think
though
so.
It's clear they belong in?
No, I think the people who clearly belong in usually get in on the first time. And to me, of the first time people who clearly belong in, I would put at the top of the list Larry Fitzgerald. To me, that's
a no-brainer.
That's a guy who's like, don't mess around. Just put him in on the first ballot. This is
I would think Witten would get in.
Right.
Eli Manning would get in. I mean, Drew Brees. Did you name Drew Brees?
So Drew Brees is eligible for the first time. Eli Manning has been eligible for and not gotten in. And
I certainly Drew Brees should be in. That's an absolute guarantee lock.
Yeah. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
Lakers beat the Clippers 135-118. Luka Doncic, 43 points and 13 assists. The former Jazz man Chris Dunn was ejected in that game. Luka went off 24 points in the first quarter, PK. He made a statement.
I watched the first quarter, right? I was watching college hoop, flicking around, and that game was on. The other game was a slaughter, so I didn't watch that. But the later game with the Lakers and the Clippers, obviously I have an interest in the West Coast. And I just keep thinking, coming back to, I just want to swear, not in a good way, a bad way, that the Lakers got Doncic. This guy, I don't even think he's reached his peak yet, right? If you go by age, you could argue he hasn't.
100%.
So you basically just gifted the Lakers a true bona fide superstar, which are so difficult to get, and they were able to get one for Anthony Davis and somebody else maybe? I don't even remember who. My
For
goodness.
a cow and 3 magic beans, it was a gift. And that's why the GM has been fired, and the rest of us just get to gnash our teeth because now the Lakers are at minimum relevant, and depending on who they put around him, they could pile up some more championships. I mean, they haven't done it in about a decade, but the way they were going, they were basically going to the NBA Finals every other year for the first 60 years of their existence. Now, they've fallen off that pace. But
you had to.
I know. You think, right? But this, I mean, who's to say?
I think they're a contender this year. I wouldn't pick them to win it. I'd still go OKC, obviously. And I like what Denver's doing, and then we'll see about Houston as they develop some more chemistry and all that stuff. But I think they're a contender. And it's just, wait a second. There was years ago, they overruled a Chris Paul trade. And nothing against Chris Paul, because he's a Hall of Famer himself, obviously in his 21st year, announced over the weekend that he was going to retire, obviously, as he's gotten older. But Doncic is way better than Chris Paul.
Right, but the problem was when the Chris Paul trade happened, the league owned New Orleans.
Great, now the Lakers are going to own the league.
I know. But the league didn't own Dallas, so they weren't going to reject the trade. The blowout you refer to is Orlando going to Philadelphia and hammering the Sixers 144-103. 144, that is a serious number right there. A 51-point second quarter, good grief. Not a lick of defense being played there in Philly by Philly.
And for Philly, nothing but Philly.
Oh, yeah. That is just a beating, 51 points in a quarter. The legendary Anthony Black came off the bench and scored 31 points.
Yeah, he was the guy the Jazz were considering a couple years back.
21-year-old out of Arkansas. There you go.
Yeah, right.
Well, he's on his way. Good game. And Orlando adds another piece, and eventually all those high draft picks have to pay off for Orlando, right? I mean, I know they got to be healthy.
I think when they're healthy, they're good.
Yeah. The Wizards got win number 2 down there at the bottom of the league. They beat Atlanta 132-113.
I looked at that box score. Yeah, 10 of 13 from 3. They shot 50% from 3, and I'm wondering if there's a stat out there in today's game when it's not like 4 for 8. If you shoot 50% from 3, what are your chances of winning the game? Because, as I say, back then, 15, 20 years ago, they maybe took 10 threes tops, which not necessarily is a game decider. But now with the number of threes approaching 40, if you shoot 50%, I wonder what your percentage of chances of winning. It's got to be really high.
You would think, right? That is just such an advantage. There's so many points.
Right.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hashtag college basketball.
The Utes lose to Grand Canyon 68-58 in Palm Springs. Utes dropped to 5-2 on the season as they've now lost to a Big West and a Mountain West team, PK. I think we knew the Big 12 was going to be hard for the Utes. Now we're pretty sure of it, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. I don't think this result changed much. Maybe it just added some more evidence. But, obviously Alex is going to need time. He's going to need money. He needs to start banging the drum for the fan support in the way that Dillingham did when he got the ASU job. And those three, I think you need those 3 things, obviously. You need talent, you need money, and you need the support. Kids want to play in front of people who come out to cheer them. Obviously, I mean, it is not breaking news here, and that's going to take a bit.
UVU blows out South Dakota State 75-52 in Cancun. Portland State over Utah Tech 68-63. UVU's back.
Throw one of the.
Go ahead.
That Cal beat the UC Los Angeles Bruins.
Did.
And, that's Mark Madsen, and we all like him, known him for a long time. And there's nothing better than a press conference with Mick Cronin as the losing coach.
He gets pretty feisty, cranky.
Yeah.
Cal, that wasn't a fluke. I dropped in on that game for a while, and Cal had an 8 or 10-point lead, and I went off and watched something else like you. I flicked over to the Laker-Clipper game, and I went back to it, and Cal was still up by 8. It was like Cal was right there. Control of the game.
Yeah.
UVU takes on Stanford 4 o'clock today. Utah will play Ole Miss at 10 o'clock tonight. BYU's back in action tomorrow. They play Miami 3 o'clock. That game's on ESPN from Orlando, Florida. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
The hot stove. Need a little baseball news here as the temperatures plunge and the holidays approach.
Yes.
St. Louis Cardinals trading veteran right-handed pitcher Sonny Gray to the Boston Red Sox in exchange for 2 pitching prospects. And St. Louis sends Boston $20 million to cover the salary. Gray had a no-trade clause, but waived it to facilitate the move after going 14-8 last season.
Yeah, the Cardinals look like they're in a rebuild, and Sox, they can contend for the World Series, but you never know. They can contend for a playoff spot.
Pirates ace Paul Skeens gets a record $3.4 million from the pre-arbitration bonus pool, raising his 2-year pay total to $5.58 million. He was slated to make $875 this season after making a little more than $500,000 last year.
Yeah, and in a related news, that's why you had the Steinbrenner son saying that the Yankees want to reduce payroll so they can afford to pay him when he becomes available.
And there it is. Connect the dots. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NHL.
The Utah Mammoth are back in action tonight. They host the Montreal Canadiens. Let it roll off the tongue, PK. One of the original 6, a legendary franchise. Currently sitting in 5th place over in the Atlantic Division in the East. Utah sitting in 4th place in the West. They're off to very similar starts. Should be a good game tonight.
Yeah, when Gordon told me don't let him break down the Atlantic Division, I had never had any idea that it would actually be the NHL.
You've used that joke before. You're recycling your humor here.
That's just amazing to me.
And I didn't break it down.
I know you didn't. But it is amazing to me that the point I'm making, and it's not that, the point I'm making is the Montreal Canadiens
are coming to Utah.
Are playing the Salt Lake City NHL team. That's the amazing part. That's where I'm going with that.
That is completely amazing. Nothing says welcome to the big time. And you are in the big time, and you have arrived as the Montreal Canadiens.
Right. So when, and I think it's when, not if, I think you do too, when the MLB comes here, well, it'll be like, wow, this is incredible. But it's to the point, or the community and the Millers at the Byam and all, they earn the right to get that. The hockey, it's like Kyle Whittingham said last week, here today, gone tomorrow. Well, it wasn't here today, but it is here tomorrow. I mean, that thing happened so quick, right? Whereas the baseball, they broke dirt, 2 years ago? And we're still several years away. So it's like the anticipation will build. Hockey just, in a sense, snuck up upon us, and here we are.
Yeah, hockey is more surprise.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the baseball you can see coming over the horizon.
Yeah, for a long time.
Come
on, son, come on up.
Yep. What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Riley Jensen's going to be here to talk football at 8 o'clock. Barry Trammell, sports columnist, Tulsa World, here at 9 o'clock. It's also a Win Tickets Wednesday. We got tickets to give away to Nate Bargatze's Big Dumb Eyes World Tour at the Delta Center, and we will give those tickets away coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's game week for the Cougars, and the KSL Sports Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. The Cougars look to punch their ticket to the Big 12 title game as they wrap up the regular season at home against UCF. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Cougar football and your chance to win tickets to the game. Then catch College Football Saturday with a postgame show immediately following the game on KSLSports.com. Your home for the best coverage of BYU football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, it is time for Hot Takes or Toast, and the reaction is flowing in. Topic of the morning, the playoff committee keeps BYU at number 11, drops Utah one spot to 13. Cougars listed as the first team out. Utah's the second team out. Tulane is the G5 team in. Fair or foul? Michael says the irony of Jake Retzlaff making it in the tournament over BYU is palpable. It's a lot of Retzlaff. Shiloh, Retzlaff with the last laugh. Ugh.
Yeah, they're not in yet, but that would be something. I get that. The ironic nature of it. Now, that's the system. I like the rewarding the little guy, but at the same time, if it's at the expense of BYU, I got to admit, I go big time snobbery. It kind of reminds me of when the Ute fans got into the Power Five at the time. Then they sort of thumbed their nose at the Mountain West when for years we deserve an opportunity,
Yeah.
And then when it happened where they did get the opportunity, well, the Mountain West doesn't deserve an opportunity. So I'm sort of like that with the G5. If it came at the expense of Miami, no problem. Yeah, put the little guy in. But if it comes at the expense of BYU, that is just not fun and it's not right. And
that's exactly
I want them to have an opportunity, but not at the expense of BYU.
But that's exactly what Alabama's saying. We played such a more difficult schedule. We had to play 4 ranked teams in a row. BYU didn't do that, so we should have the last spot, not BYU. I mean, nothing against them, but look at what we've had to do.
Right, which is why I said Miami, not Notre Dame, or not Alabama. Excuse me. Maybe, and I can even make a case for BYU over Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
And Notre Dame, because of my lineage and my father has a soft spot for me. I've never been a hardcore Notre Dame fan myself. I've never been a hardcore fan of anything myself when it comes to this stuff. But if I'm making a case in what BYU does, because it's interesting, DJ, when you think about it, we've been talking about this for at least a couple years now, that Utah is the most respected program out there, right? And they get a lot of respect. And the great thing about it is they've had to earn it on the field. Nothing that has come their way has been given. It literally has been all earned. And that's something that we all can appreciate. So I have zero problem with Utah getting all this respect. But now when I need them to really get respect for the case of benefiting BYU, it doesn't seem like it's there.
Yep. I'd love to argue with you. Yep. And I blame, there's a couple things. One, I just think it's brand, and what happened 10 years ago shouldn't matter. None of the players were there, even with the extended eligibility. Nobody was there 10 years ago. And a lot of the coaches have changed jobs. But the fact is, it just matters if it's Alabama, Oklahoma, or Notre Dame, because they've mattered for so long. Those 3 schools have mattered our whole life. I mean, there are other schools, Miami and Florida State, are a little newer to the party, but they've still got 30, 40 years under their belt in a way that, our teams don't.
Except the problem with that is you're speaking generally, and I agree with you. The general premise is that. But when we're talking about the committee members, that doesn't fly. That stuff shouldn't matter, doesn't matter. That's why it's like when there's a high-profile jury trial, the OJ trial or whatever, the trial of the century, right? And you're wondering, well, how did you come to that verdict? Well, then they interviewed the individual jurors, and some of them spoke. I realized they sent out a spokesman each Tuesday night for a 2 or 3 minute interview, but I would like it when this thing is done, in the Sunday after next to be able to have each of these individuals explain your vote. We see now the transparency in the AP votes, right? They put them out there. You can see which man or woman voted this school here and this school there, all the way down. And so there's basically, without them speaking if they don't want to, there's full accountability. I want full accountability for each and every, as Kyle would say, these committee members to say, and I know it would be laborious because there's several of them, why did you vote the way that you did? Don't give me a jury foreman and that person answers. I want to know why every single one of them voted the way that they voted, because I think there's too much at stake here, particularly for BYU and having a Reese Davis, who is a college football respected spokesperson in a sense, even though he doesn't have that official role. But when he goes on, and I'm watching it and we're all watching it, and he says he calls BYU a potential bid stealer. If they won their next two games, they would be 12-1. They're not a bid stealer. Are you kidding me? This is not somebody from the Mid-American Conference going and winning the conference tournament that you didn't have doing it from that conference. No, this is a legitimate team, a legitimate program that sends people to the NFL. Now, every year, they do all the things. The money is there. The support is there. The attention is there. And you're calling them a bid stealer? I realize he's not on the committee, so he can't really be held accountable for that. But I want to hear what the committee says when we get to it in a week and a half at around, what would it be, around noonish when they're done there. I want to know why if BYU doesn't get in.
See, this should appeal to ESPN, PK, because there's 14 people on the committee. If you interview them each for 5 minutes, you got yourself a 2-hour show. And there's some hardcore people who would watch that. And, hey, I'm in the 21st century here, Yak. Not some old guy who doesn't understand how the world works now, okay? That's 14 separate interviews that can be posted. That's 14 separate clicks. Put them on YouTube. You can get paid by YouTube for them. Come on, let's go. You know what you really want to do? You want to hear from Randall McDaniel because he's an Arizona State Sun Devil, and I mean, more people know him as a Minnesota Viking, but he's on the committee. So there's a guy. Yeah. You're right. There's a guy with, football, his life, long career, super successful.
Distinguished.
Let's hear from him.
Which is why he's on the committee.
Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's as far as the Eastern bias, I see 4 people, I think, of the 14 have ties to this side of the country. I do wonder how much, and I think this year, I assume that they're watching all the games and all that, but if your whole life you've known something else and now you're trying to educate yourself on this, what do you know better? The thing you've studied your whole life? Chris Alt is from the West. He's a former University of Nevada football coach. Randall McDaniel, Arizona State guy. Mike Riley, former Oregon State coach. And obviously Mark Harlan is on it now as the athletic director representing the Big 12. But everybody else is from what we would refer to as back east. Now, Gary Pinkel was a Missouri football coach, and Missouri's in the Midwest, although it's in the Southeast for the purposes of college football. They're in the SEC now. Jim Grobe, he's a Wake Forest guy, right? I recognize that name. I think he was a coach there for a long time. Ohio University, Wake Forest, and he was at Baylor for 1 year.
Yes.
So, I don't know. There's 14 people. They've all got their, they've got their biases built in. They've lived where they've lived. They've watched what they've watched. And they know what they've known. Now, this year, you're on the committee, and maybe someone were on last year too. So they're, I assume, give them the benefit of the doubt, they're watching all the games trying to weigh it. But I just wonder what's been baked in over 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah, but see, I can argue, I think, fairly easily that if I put on this committee, I understand that this conference has been favored more. So I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that I give the conference, or if you want to go the 2 conferences, but we're talking specifically the Big 12, that I'm going to make sure that I bend over backward, metaphorically speaking, to allow them the opportunity to be included if worthy. And you do not have to make a huge case. This year, it so happens to be one of our schools, but it could be anybody because we're Big 12 now, right? it could be anybody who fits in this category. It so happens it's BYU, that we would make sure that they got their due diligence. And I just don't think that that's happening right now. And I would go the other way. You see this sometimes with media guys, right? We all grew up to an extent a fan of somebody, right? And maybe I'm not that qualified to say that because I moved across the country. It's not like, oh, I was this ASU fan forever and ever. And that the reality and the truth is that's not the case. I didn't really get into it until I moved over to California, and all these guys were SC fans. And it's like, well, what about my school? You know? And then I became a much bigger fan after I left. So I can't really speak to that in the manner that you could, right? And so you would see that if you worked in San Diego all these years, my guess is you might be a little harder on them to make sure that everybody knew, hey, sure, I want them to win, but that doesn't mean I can't be objective and I can't call a spade when they suck. I can't call them out for that, right? That's the way I think this committee should be.
And I think we've both definitely seen that with media members over time. And sometimes the people that are the hardest on them are the closest to them. They're trying to be fair. They bend over backwards. And I've heard people rip teams, and I'm kind of like, that team, I mean, I get your point. They're not perfect, but they're better than you're letting on. I've watched them. They're better than that.
So that's why I'm saying I think the committee then would make sure that every box was checked as to why not or why. And you would go overboard to make sure that you're not that biased. I used to do the AP poll, right? Mm-hmm. And I would be biased towards the West Coast because I always felt that the guys or ladies on the other side of the country were doing the same thing. But that didn't mean that much. It was more window dressing. This isn't window dressing. This means a lot. And to have this potentially happen is just, it's not right. And I also believe Yormark, I got to start hearing him talk. He should make himself available. Do a conference call with Big 12 media every Tuesday night. Why are they dropping the ball? He's supposed to be Mr. Sophisticated, bright, 10, 20 years ahead of the curve here. Where is he? He's like a church mouse. I want to hear what he has to say.
I can tell you right now that, and there are probably people listening to this thinking, well, you guys are media. Why didn't you get him on? Yuck, how many times? How many times have we said, reach out for Yormark, and you roll your eyes like, all right, I'll do it again, but he's not going to do it.
But to your point, PK, the only statement he's put out says we want to earn it on the field, and I've said that I'll reiterate something I've already said. You can't earn it on the field if you can't get into the playoff field. Like there's just that's the only issue that I have is he's trying to act all, I don't know, politically correct about all this. But
and I have a problem with that, and I think every single coach needs to speak to it. And we all love Kalani, but I think he needs to start talking about it.
Amen. And, absolutely.
And Brian Santiago needs to make a statement.
Shane Reese, their president of the university. Yeah.
Shane Reese absolutely needs to make a statement. And the conference presidents need to make a statement. And Yormark needs to be leading the charge. It shouldn't be somebody requesting him. He should be sending us email, all the Big 12 media, guys like us, DJ and I, we only have like about 80 friggin' years of experience combined in his business, and they should be having us, making sure that we're there at 6:30, 7 o'clock Mountain Time every Tuesday, and Yormark speaking about what just happened. And if he feels like it's an injustice, then go hard on it. Speak out against it. Why not? What do you have to lose to start politicking? If that's what you need to do, and it shouldn't be that's what you need to do, but if it is what you need to do, then friggin' do it.
Stan, just take care of business on Saturday. We will be in. Stan still believes.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath.
Brandon, sadly, no. Unless BYU beats Texas Tech or someone in front of them loses, BYU's out. Prepare yourself.
The only caveat is last week when the new dude got up there, and I don't even want to learn his name, so I'm not going to learn it. I'm just going to call him the new dude as far as the chairman. When he said, and we talked about this last week, he said BYU didn't look good. So they win Saturday. They go down to Arlington. I'll be there. I'll know what looks good. You guys will be watching it on television. You know what looks good. Most of our listeners, man, woman, child, will know what looks good. And if BYU looks good by their own acknowledgement, they should be in it. And the great thing about it is Yormark has got 24 hours essentially to plead his case publicly, because the Big 12 season will have been over. And where I'm going with this is the Big 12 plays the first game of the day, if I'm not mistaken, a week from Saturday, right? Mm-hmm. And so with that in mind, all the results will be in. BYU gets beat 42-3. Well, I guess you got me there, even though you could still make a case. But if they look good and it's a competitive game, he then has 24 hours to be on the news cycle saying, this is why we need two teams. And if that point he doesn't do it, then something is really wrong. And I look forward to next July. If he won't come on during the season, he does come on during Big 12 media days. And if that's the case, and I assume I'll be going to it, as I've gone to every single one of them for the last 15 years, even longer than that if you count the Mountain West, then I'm going to ask him point blank, why in the crap didn't you politic for BYU if it comes to that? Now, that's I don't want to have to wait 7-8 months to get that answer, but certainly he needs to be held accountable if he's not out there beating the drum, particularly from Saturday afternoon on till the committee meets Sunday morning. And are they in Dallas? Is that where they meet? Well, guess where the conference title game is? It's right down the road. Go to the freaking building. Talk to them as they're coming in and out. Make your case. That's what it requires. It's unseedy and it's sort of unbecoming, but so bleeping what? If that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. At least go down fighting.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Riley Jensen at the top of the hour right here on the Zone.
It's game week for the Utes, and the KSL Sports Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. After one of the craziest, most bizarre games in Utah history, Kyle Whittingham and the Utes hit the road for the regular season finale in Lawrence against the Kansas Jayhawks. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Utah football on KSLSports.com.
Let's go then. Let's go, baby.
Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The artist of the day today is Tina Turner, born on this day in 1939. She passed away a couple of years ago. It's brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts events in 2025, check out livenation.com. DJ PK, it is the day before Thanksgiving, PK. What are you most thankful for in the world of sports? Joseph says, I'm thankful to live in a state where you have two college football programs ranked in the top 15.
That's pretty cool.
It really is.
It is. That's awesome. I mean, I realize there's fans of each team that don't want that. They want their team. But we have to look at it in the bigger picture for us, because we have to do our we have to pay attention to both at an extremely high level, and to have both of them be really good this year. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. And I wish they were just not BYU. Maybe that Utah had beaten Tech, and then have them both have all three teams have one loss, and you could not favor one over the other. That would about the only thing that you could hope for or wish for at this point in terms of them, if they were undefeated. But BYU and Utah couldn't be undefeated, and for that matter, neither could Texas Tech, because they all played each other. So there was going to be losses administered. So from that perspective, here we are. For me, when it's a sports gratitude, it's the same thing every year, and it has been the same thing every year for the last 24 years. I'm grateful that I got this job to be able to talk about sports. So my sports gratitude is employment all the way.
And the fact that you're not just employed, you're employed in a place with two top 15 college football teams, because you love college football. Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
You'd have to go to Texas or Indiana to get this, PK.
Okay, nothing against Indiana, but I could handle Texas.
I did read a hilarious story about how Texas Longhorn fans, this is going to be the worst playoff for them. If Texas A&M is in and Texas is out, and Texas Tech is in and Texas is out.
I get it, yeah.
Oklahoma, their rival, in and Texas is out.
Yeah.
Now, if North Texas gets in, now you're really – North Texas or SMU, I think they're long shots, but it could happen.
It could, yeah. It's funny. I was talking to my wife yesterday. We were making a drive, and I said, I could live in Texas if I had to. I said, no, don't worry. I'm not job searching anymore. That's over with.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be looking to move. I used to do it all the time way back when, but I haven't done it in many years. And I said, I've been to Texas. I've never vacationed in Texas, but I've been to Texas so many times for work that I feel like I got a good feel for the state. I mean, in all corners of the state I've been, and it's all been work related over the years. And I think I could handle that. I look forward, as long as BYU wins Saturday, of being in Texas next week. I'm excited for that opportunity if BYU should win, which we all think they will, and then to see what happens. That would be the ultimate statement game that BYU's ever made in the history of its program if they manage to win Saturday, which is expected, obviously, and then win following week. That's got to be considered the best win in program history if it came to that, given all the implications and all the disrespect that has been thrown their way for 2 years now. Not 1, 2.
Play your way into the playoff. That'd be awesome.
And then get what, an 11 seed?
Well, they would get a bump from beating Texas Tech. So.
Obviously, I know. I'm joking.
Yeah. Only a little bit, though.
Yeah. It's like we got to put the G5er at 12. And
the ACC
so
at 11.
No. Still make BYU 11. I mean, it would be an absolute joke if that were the case. But this ought to fire these guys up. And I know Kalani, maybe next week, maybe Saturday around 3:00, maybe he can unleash that in terms of, we've been disrespected all year. Just look at it. I mean, because you don't have to worry about downplaying the playoff possibilities and all that stuff versus the next opponent, because that would be the next opponent and you could speak freely to that. And I would like him to maybe get out of character a little bit and say, my gosh, nobody expects us to win. This committee, they only put us in there because they were forced to. So nobody believes in us.
I think he can say something after they beat UCF in the postgame. I think the time to get up then is to stand up in front of that microphone when all the cameras are on you, and it's early in the day, so there's time for all the TV networks to grab the postgame bite and put it on the air and say, we're 11-1. When does Texas Tech play? What time is their game?
I don't know.
Because I'm assuming that they they also have a morning game. They have a 10 a.m. They have a 10 a.m. game on ESPN at West Virginia. So it's over, assuming Tech has won, and he would know this, right? The sports information person will tell him before he walks out. He can walk out and say, we're 11-1. Texas Tech is 11-1. We should both be in the college football playoff. We should be playing for seeding in a Big 12 title game next Saturday. Because then you don't say anything that means there's no bulletin board material. There's no. It's just like, this is where we sit right now. We should both be in. Period. You're 11-1 in the Big 12. You should be in.
Right. And your Mark needs to run his mouth on Saturday, too.
I don't think he needs to run his mouth. I think he needs to do his job, which in this case would be running his mouth. That is running his mouth. I know, but run his mouth is just like, you're popping off. You're 14. You're speaking when you shouldn't speak. And
act like you're 14.
No, you're the commissioner. You should speak. And he should say the same thing.
Speak vigorously, not just speak.
11-1. They should both be in.
We're going to break off and form our own alliance if they don't put both these teams in. Start throwing out threats that you'll never intend to keep. That's the fun part of life.
DJ and PK, when we come back, more football with Riley Jensen. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.